No.
It's a little rushed because of the glitches, but I think in general it's been all right. I mean, people know these things happen. We've all been
Where
to
would my
conferences
settings be?
before.
Okay, hold on. It's in.
Wow, you just switched the keyboard to check. I don't know. Here. Okay, let's try again. Ah, good one.
Yeah.
That's a good move. Yeah.
That's for display notes, arrangement.
Yeah. Ah. God. Perfect. Okay, should I close this out? Let's rescale it.
I mean,
Yeah.
you have us set up in the dining area for lunch. It'd be great to have all of the guys set up, you know, maybe afterwards so you could go follow up immediately over lunch.
Cool. Well, thanks everyone for having us here. I'm Joel Horowitz from Alpine Data Labs. Alpine is an application that was built by data scientists for data scientists originally. Our goal in life is to be, the world's first advanced analytics end-to-end platform for big data and Hadoop. I think that's an important point, the Hadoop and big data. When we say big data, what we mean is actually database, multi-parallel platforms, and that as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a really quick demo because I know we are short on time. You can actually follow along with me if you like. If you go to start.alpinenow.com, you can actually log into Alpine from here. So if I sign in, you'll notice that we basically, let me just do one quick thing, adjust the screen resolution. Sorry for that. Let's see, okay. Hopefully you can all still see my screen. Maybe not. Oh no, I broke it. Sorry. Let me see. Oh, really? That matters? Okay, sorry. Sorry about that. Just wanted to give you a view there. Okay. Yeah. So basically, I'm going to jump into here because that's kind of weird. So basically, I'm going to jump right into our workflow development studio. And what you'll see is, we basically have on the left-hand panel here a number of what we call operators. If you want to find the list of all of the operators that we support, there's just over 80. You can go to our start page and go to our periodic table, and it has a list of a ton of them. So when I say end-to-end, I really do mean the data transformation layer, the kind of ETL type of stuff that I think data scientists actually do spend a lot of their time in. I heard DJ Patel say something like 80% of the work that data scientists are doing today is really in the feature generation stage. So we actually have taken a considerable amount of work to build that into our product. Additionally, we have support for a number of different modeling, predictor, and scoring operators. So what I'm going to show you today is our implementation of Spark. And so what you'll see is it doesn't really look like a really code-heavy SQL kind of interface. It's very visual, so if I open this up, you can see clearly, I can select the dependent column very easily. I can change this on the fly. I can choose the number of iterations or the number of times we're going to go over the data set. I can select the columns here that matter, and a number of other things. I can flip Spark on and off just as a toggle switch here. And so if I get out of this, and if I run the demo, what you'll see is when we actually run this, Spark is done. So I don't know if anyone was timing that, but it was really, really fast. And so we were, pretty much blown away by that. So you can see we also have support for standard MapReduce. I think when you start thinking about, which applications to choose, there's some dependencies here. We actually take care, wherever Spark is supported. We did our certification with Databricks. It's really easy just to add a jar file, and we'll take care of all the configuration for you. The beauty with Alpine, I have to point out, is also the fact that you can continue to use, the current Hadoop cluster that you've already made an investment in. right? So as you can see here, we're actually running these jobs in parallel. So you have, this, traditional MapReduce job still running while Spark is already finished. We can also do things like, go here and pull data in from our Pivotal Hadoop cluster. And we can also pull in data sets from databases, so things like Greenplum, Teradata, Microsoft SQL, all of these data sources we support. If I close this and go back out, I kind of do the demo in reverse. I think you can probably see that. But the other part that we've built more recently with our launch of 3.0 this last fall is this idea of a collaboration workspace for data practitioners and data scientists. So what I mean by that is if I go all the way out, you'll see a number of data sources that we have connected there. So we have JDBC connection, Hadoop, Greenplum, Cloudera, Hawk support, and a ton of other stuff. We also have this kind of Google-like interface where I can search for other Spark demos maybe that are in here. So you can see there's a few. So I can search for objects. I can search for people like Sarah, our director of product management. Or I could even search within data sets. So like maybe there's a credit data set. Oh, I can see there's a credit data set, and it's in a Hadoop file system. So we've built this kind of Google for data scientists technology that you can easily find all your people and all your data in one place. The other thing is we have this Facebook style, and I liked the joke earlier, but I won't repeat that. It was pretty funny. But we have this Facebook style, activity stream where anything that I run will actually flow into this activity stream. So if I'm a VP of analytics or a data manager of some sort, I can quickly log in and see overall what the latest things that actions people have been doing. Maybe there's some errors, maybe there's some problems with some jobs that have ran, and I can quickly jump into that to diagnose the issue. If I open up one of these workspaces, so we have this concept of a workspace, and what that means is it's a place where people can gather to share all of their information, all of their insight. So there's a summary, there's basically a progress tracker, so based on the number of milestones that you've created, we can actually see very quickly with just a quick glance where this project is in its development. I can also see all of the data that's associated with this individual project, whether it's in Hadoop or it's in a database. So we do a very nice data mapping to the data, right? So this makes it really easy for someone like myself to jump into a project and get into things very, very quickly and see where things are at. And then finally, as I showed you at the beginning of my talk, is this idea of workflows, work files. So we have many work files. We have Alpine work files, so that's this one at the top. These can be very simple, data transformations, or they can be more elaborate, predictive models for churn analysis or something like this. As well as they can just be, simple images. So, maybe this decision tree, as well as, a Tableau workbook. We also integrate very nicely with Tableau. So, we have our own kind of internal visualizations for very purpose-built, but we also support a broad range of our partners, like Tableau in this case. So that's pretty much Alpine in a nutshell. You have a lot of different ways to interact with Alpine. I really encourage you to go to start.alpine now and try it yourself. We have another talk at 3 o'clock today where one of our chief data scientists, our head of machine learning, is going to be demoing his implementation of what we call Sequoia Forest, which is pretty phenomenal. And I won't talk too much in detail about that because I encourage you to go to his talk. And with that, that's what I have. Made it quick.
The chair's up so people can actually see.
Sure.
See? Yeah. So, question for you, Joel. As I look at the demo, right? You guys previously ran on top of MapReduce, and then you ported over to Spark. So, I guess 2 questions. One, what led to that decision to go to Spark? You guys were relatively early. And then 2, how do you change it from saying Spark is yet another engine, it just speeds up MapReduce, versus how do you start building things custom for Spark? Because functionality is also a superset of what might be in MapReduce.
Yeah, no, totally. I think there's a number of things. I think first and foremost, our customers, our forward-thinking customers, we're of course very interested in Spark for the ability, especially when you really do more, I would say, hardcore machine learning, and you need to make multiple passes over the data. So that was kind of a request coming from them. And we had done, the Alpine implementation on MapReduce is truly phenomenal already. I think Spark, just widens the breadth of functionality and things that we can do that we frankly couldn't do before. For example, like the talk I mentioned, Sequoia Forest, is something that is completely new, I think, to the industry that frankly we couldn't do before. The second thing is really just around implementation on MapReduce. I can look in the audience, and I'm sure all of you have had some experience with MapReduce, and it's not too fun. So I think Spark definitely makes our lives a lot more friendly and a lot nicer. For instance, for certain implementations of our algorithms, we went from something like 300 lines of code to only 30. So it's just speeding up, the development cycle of the library of algorithms that we can bring to bear.
Yeah, and then I'm curious about kind of the average user of Alpine, like how familiar are they with Spark, right? Because some of the things that we look at, we say Spark, well, it has a nice expressive API, you can use Scholar Python. You guys have kind of abstracted that away into kind of this pipe flow. So I'm curious of how much of the users are like, oh, we're just using Alpine, well, we just hope it's faster underneath, and how much of the ones that you go to, you said are forward thinking, actually are familiar with Spark and its capabilities?
Yeah, I think Alpine is a very horizontal solution. I think we've done a very good job of not neglecting different, experience and different, I guess, familiarity with this technology. I think we kind of span that really nicely. I think, first and foremost, for folks who are just trying to use data science in a business setting, I think that is the visual side, and I think we do abstract a lot of the complexity away from Hadoop or even database to a large degree. But we also have support for, we have a ton of extendability kind of features where we have custom operators. So if you do want to do something more fancy and more custom, something like that, then you can actually still open up Alpine, it'll still support that.
Yeah. And now that you've been using it, kind of same question I asked of ours, that it's like, a year from now, where would you kind of like to see the Spark community? Is there something that's at the top of your wish list now that you've used it? Say this would be great if this was, in Spark.
Yeah, man, that's a really good question. I should have given that more thought. I certainly am very excited about, doing. I think people use the word real time more and more, but I do think there's still more that we can do there to really bridge the gap between, even unstructured data and dealing with database and more data sources. So I'm curious, I'm very excited with, what Databricks presented yesterday in terms of moving things to the cloud. But again, I'll come back to that earlier statistic that I mentioned. 80% of data scientists are dealing with different data types and figuring that out, and then secondly, in an enterprise situation today, only something like 12% of the data is really being used. So what's that other, percent of data doing there? It's just sitting, right? So, how does Spark and how do we think about solving this problem? We've seen a lot of really interesting stuff like Trifacta, and what they're doing is really cool. So I think about how can Spark take this very, abstract, or maybe not abstract, but this very kind of wide kind of platform, and then start applying it very directly on these problems.
Okay. Joel?
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Yeah. So